How to get back up after being betrayed by an ex-wife, left with very little resources, small amount of time to see kids, how to get the strength to move forward and rebuild.
So here's what I think about it. You can't control other people. Even in the post itself, I recognize a little bit of animosity and contention and resentment towards your ex, which, based on the limited information we have here, is understandable. But I think you have to ask yourself whether or not that contention and animosity is serving you, or if it's like shackles that you've shackled around your ankles and your wrist, and you're allowing it to hold you back. Maybe if you decided that you're not going to harbor those thoughts and those ideas and that contention, that animosity towards her, and let that go, you could spend more of your time, energy, and attention focused on the things that are within your control, like getting your health in check, like developing new skill sets, building out a band of brothers. Maybe it's deeper, more meaningful connections with guys who are already in your circle, or maybe it's entirely new people. Another thing is getting yourself out there. I know that you're probably feeling down and depressed. Your situation is drastically changed. And so putting yourself out to meet new people, and I'm not even talking about women, I'm just talking about meeting new people. Maybe a buddy calls you up and says, "Hey, man, do you want to go to the sports event that we have this weekend?" The answer is most definitely yes. "Hey, I'm going to go to dinner tonight. Do you want to come with me?" You may not feel like it, but the answer is most definitely yes. When you're at Walmart and you have the option to go through the self checkout lane, or you have the option to go to the one that has the teller, you go to the one that has the teller, because it's going to help you interact with other people. There's things that are entirely within your control. And when we focus more of our time and attention and energy on the things within our control, then our life, I was going to say miraculously, but it isn't miraculous. Our life just changes. It gets better. So the other thing, so that's one, focus on you. Now, what can you do with her? Well, you have to build some sort of amicable relationship with her. And I know that's a tough pill to swallow. I know that she might be, to put it bluntly, a vindictive bitch. I don't know if she is, but I know that you're probably feeling like that to some degree, or you wouldn't be asking this question. And you got to let that go. Even if you have to just stuff it down inside for now, because what's more important is not how you feel about her behavior. What's more important is that you build a working relationship with her so that you can be in your kids' life. That's the most important thing. And that might
Yeah.
mean letting go of the ego, letting go of the pride, faking a grin if you have to when you see her because you hate her. I don't know, but do what you need to do. This is strategy so that you can be in your children's lives.
The way we get past hardship is by making that situation become the best thing that could have ever happened to you. You want to level up in a way where you're like, man, that kicked me in the butt in a way that I'm kind of, in a crazy sense, grateful for it, because it catapulted me to become the man I am. And it can do that if you choose to allow this to be a learning experience and a catalyst for you to become better.
I was just going to say, what's interesting about what you just said is it doesn't take some sort of external factor to do that. It doesn't take her changing her behavior for you to do that, or for you to get a promotion, or for you to find another lovely woman. Like, it takes no, because look, some of that stuff will happen. It might happen, but it's beyond your control. You know what it takes? It takes you deciding. That's
Yeah,
it. It takes you making
totally.
the decision that, hey, this is really bad. This is really bad, but it's going to be okay. If you're going through a difficult time right now, just extend your time horizon. Because I think what happens is when we're feeling really crappy about our lives, and sometimes we have a reason to feel crappy about them, it's because we're stuck in the moment.
Yeah.
And what I would suggest is that we look at the longer term play here. What's the longer term play? And if you extend your time horizon, then what ends up happening is you start doing things that are going to serve your future self rather than wallowing in your current self pity. What is it that your future self would thank you for doing in this moment, despite your current circumstances? That's what should be leading your decision making process.
Here's the black belt move to deal with this. Understand her. I know that seems super crazy, but you will not be able to let go of that betrayal and hurt until you see her for who she is, not from a negative perspective, but see her as a human and understand her. And through empathy, you actually are able to let go. Now, you don't have to agree with her, and you don't have to be okay, but you need to understand her and almost get to a point where you're like, oh, I get her. Not my cup of tea. You know, I don't have to agree with it, but I understand it. And almost come to a level of like empathy.
Yeah.
Of like, because you should feel kind of sad for her. And by the way, that's your children's mother. So you should care to some extent.
If you
right?
care about
And
your
so it's
kids,
like
you got to care about her well-being.
Yeah. And the more you can go, you know what? I get her. And I almost feel sorry for her in the sense of like what she's done to our marriage and broke up, things, but I get it and I understand her. And the quicker you can get to that is the quicker you can actually let go and not have her actions just tear you apart. And trust me, I know what that feeling of tearing apart feels like. So this is speaking from experience. It wasn't until that, and I'm going to say maybe in a more extreme way, it wasn't until I was able to love and accept my ex-wife for exactly who she was. It wasn't until then that I was able truly to let go and not be affected in a negative way by our marriage failing.
Yeah, as you're saying that, Kip, I hear a lot of these like modern red pill type guys that are like, no, she's this and she's that, and it's her fault, and women this and women that. And you know what? You deciding to make those types of decisions you're talking about, Kip, isn't for her, anyways. And that's where the confusion comes into play. If I treat her with respect, you're like, oh, well, now you're bowing down. You're being a cuck. You're being a beta. You're being a simp. These are the words people use. No, you're not. Yeah. You're doing it for you and your kids. You're not doing it for her. Maybe you still love her and there's some love in there. And so I think it's good to treat her with some sort of respect, but that's not the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective is that you're doing it for yourself to let go of the animosity and contention and hostility. And you're doing it for the relationship that you have with your children. And people that say, oh, that's a simp move, that's a beta move. Those guys are angry, they're bitter, they're contentious, they're miserable, and they'll probably spend the rest of their lives alone. And if that's what you want, then sure, go that route. But I don't think that's what you want.
And they're being controlled by the heart and the hurt forever until they let go of it.
Solid point. Yeah, that's a weakness move, not a strength move.
Totally.
It's a good point.
Totally.